are answerable to people in elections.
Well, let me throw another question.
The idea is you're going to have to make this into some sort of an election issue. Just one last point, Nick, that I want to make on this subject, and that is that when it comes to people like Evan, once again, what I think bothers me the most about the position they take isn't the substantive position, but what I detect as a complete and frankly unjustified arrogance in rejecting the validity of the arguments that are being advanced by people with whom they disagree. And it's this lack of respect. I don't understand, therefore your view is not valid. That really bothers me. It grates against me terribly. You know what? I pride myself on listening respectfully and trying to understand and work with people with whom I disagree in the political field. Because the reality is that's, in a democracy, you have to find ways to work together. So it's not always about winning and losing. Sometimes it is, but most often it's about finding compromises and finding ways to work together. And you have to be willing to accept the fact that people who disagree with you may have a point of view that may be thinking of things that you hadn't actually considered. So drop the arrogance already. Be open-minded, listen to these people who are opposed to vaccine passports, and try to find some way of accommodating. I don't know what the solution is. This may be one of those things where the differences are irreconcilable. I don't know, Nick. But I do know that on the left on this, on the pro-passport side of the argument, and on the pro-vaccine side of the argument, and on the lockdown side of the argument, the rhetoric has been extreme, and it's been dismissive, and it's been, frankly, again, just plain old-fashioned arrogant. And that's no way to make public policy in a democratic society.
Well, let me ask you one more question, something I should have included in my list of objections. Why is it that they want to, and I can't assign reason for this, I'm just curious to get your take on it. Why is it they want the general population to carry around a vaccine passport? But within the military, not only is there no requirement for a vaccine passport, they don't even have to take the vaccine. It's completely voluntary.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look into that a little bit more, Nick. I know.
Okay, well, that's firsthand information from my son, who is actually in the service. And when it came time for their vaccine, his unit was asked, do you want one or not? And a lot of the guys took it, but some of them didn't. And there was no big deal. There was no hassle. There was no talk of retribution if you didn't take it. And they've been, they're ready to be deployed at any time. The whole unit, nobody's going to stay behind because they didn't take the vaccine. Now, look, if you're not going to do that to the military, people who we send to the world's worst places and put them in harm's way, why are you making the general population do it who just want to get about living their lives peacefully and quietly?
Right. Well, I just on that point, Nick, I think it's important to remember that nobody's done anything. Nobody's made decisions on this yet. So it's an ongoing debate. What I had heard, and it hasn't been firsthand, so take what I'm going to say with a grain of salt, but I had heard, in fact, that members of the military were being told that they had to take the vaccine, and that it was compulsory. But your experience or your information is very different than mine, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, and it sounds to me like your source is probably more credible than mine. So I think it's going to take just a little bit of investigation to find out what the truth is on this, and I'm not questioning your son's experience or word, but I'm wondering whether or not that was an anomaly as opposed to a general policy. So, but again, it's a tough one, Nick. It really is a tough one, and I am vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated, and throughout this, even though I didn't think that the the threat of illness or imminent death was great, I would not have locked things down. I would not have worn a mask, except that, I do, as a conservative, not a libertarian, I do believe in government exercising lawful authority, duly constituted government, and whether I agreed with it or not personally, the government had made an order, and I felt that I had a responsibility to follow those instructions, to follow the law, because that's what citizens in a democratic society do. And but did I think that the mask law was relevant, that it was effective? Frankly, I don't. But I still wore my mask. Did I get vaccinated because the government said I should? No, I got vaccinated because I know that I'm not going to be able to travel, or I have a pretty good idea that I won't be able to travel without being vaccinated, and therefore I looked at the situation. I said, for me, not relevant. I'm not worried about contracting the illness. The numbers just are not there for me, but I'm going to get the vaccination anyway, even though I don't see the relevance of it from a health perspective, but from a practical traveling perspective, I can see that there's a relevance. Therefore, the risk in taking the vaccine was so minor to me as well, negligible, that I didn't see the harm in doing it. Now, not everybody's going to agree with that. And I have a lot of sympathy for those people out there who are concerned about the health implications of taking the vaccine. And again, I think that people should be far more, those who are pro-vaccine, quote unquote, should be far more sympathetic to their fellow citizens who have legitimate concerns about the health hazards. And I will even go so far as to say, even if those are not legitimate concerns, they are concerns. And, to basically put people down and say, yeah, you're stupid and you're idiots, or you're conspiracy theorists, is one I heard recently, simply because somebody has a concern about the health implications of taking a vaccination. I think, again, it's the wrong approach to take. So
I completely agree with you. Now, the thing I would say, and have said when this whole vaccine thing got started, was if you want to take the vaccine, go ahead and get it. By all means, I am not for a second saying that we should simply not make the vaccine available. But if you're looking for me to stand behind you in the lineup, you're going to be waiting a long time. It should be voluntary. Explain to me what the benefits are. Explain to me what the risks are. Let me make up my own mind. Well, I'm old enough and ugly enough to be able to do that on my own. I don't need the state holding my hand. I'm not an
fairness,
idiot.
Nick, that is the situation. Nobody's forcing you.
Well, yes, you're right to a degree. But if I want to go, and I think that these passports are a fait accompli. I think they're simply going through the motions. And I'm putting on my cynical hat again, a well-worn cynical hat, that they're just simply going through the motions, preparing us for the day when we have to, if we want to go to a concert, a baseball game, a football game, a hockey game, we want to go see relatives in another province. If we don't have that passport, we can't go.
Yeah, you're not. I don't think you're wrong. I think that those discussions are going on. I don't think that the decisions have been made, but I'm sure those discussions are going on.
I think it's a matter. It's just like I said. I think it's just a matter of time. It's we see. What is it, Manitoba or Saskatchewan's already talking about mandating one. Ontario is going to do it. I don't think there's you don't have to be a crystal ball gazer or a tarot card reader to figure that out. And who knows what Quebec will do. The Maritimes, there's a big family feud out there about what to do about this. And one by one, they'll fall. And before long, we won't be able to go anywhere or do anything without that card, just like you can't go anywhere without your driver's license.
Well, that, again, I hear you. I'm not as concerned, certainly from an international travel point of view, as you are, Nick. I'm more concerned about the domestic implications. I don't think decisions have been made, but I think that on the balance of probabilities, it's likely that we're going to go in the direction that you're talking about. How far you go, I think, is going to be largely dependent on how the population reacts. And, putting sort of a final word on this, Nick, it's a controversial issue, and my recommendation to those who are opposed to it is to not let yourself be co-opted by people out there who really are conspiracy theorists, who are going to say this is just, the UN trying to impose one world government. I don't detect anything like that in this, and my suggestion, very strong suggestion, is argue it out on the merits and not worry about all of the other stuff. Don't give your opponents the opportunity to dismiss your arguments because they sound kooky. I know it's not fair, but it's the reality of the world that we live in now. You have very strong arguments, and hey, I might be persuaded to jump on board with some of these. But let's keep it sensible, let's keep it tight, let's keep it focused, and let's not allow ourselves to get dragged into the muck and mire of a lot of other things out there that have nothing to do with the specific issue of vaccination passports.
All right, with that said, I think it's time to take a break, Joseph.
It certainly is. So we'll be back in a few minutes here on the Nick and Joe Show on the Think Radio Broadcast Network.